Well, the latest of Footy on 9 season previews is the reigning premiers Richmond. They're certainly looking in good shape again, Brownie.
How good is it to be a Richmond supporter at the moment? They had so much hard work, so many hard times years ago, even when I was there. But they look cherry ripe to have another crack at it again. They deserve to be the favourites. It is theirs to be taken off them.
Well, let's take a look at the ins and outs from that trade period. I guess they lost some depth, but also the big one came post the trade period in Alex Rance.
Yeah, it did. And people talking about their depth and maybe they lost a few players. I think they tried to offload Brandon Ellis the year before. He was out at the start of the year, came in, he was in and out of the side, played well towards the end of the year. Butler didn't play a lot of footy. Townsend didn't play a lot of footy. Alex Rance didn't play at all last year. So they won the grand final without him. Yes, they are depth players, but I just don't think they lose a lot, Richmond, because obviously Marlon Pickett comes in, only played the one game. So I think what they've lost, I think they'll cover quite comfortably.
We'll take a look at their draftees now. They did have one pick in the top 25, and that was Thompson Dow. Damien Hardwick's already said he looks like a ready-made footballer, but it's going to be tough for any of those guys to get in and play senior footy.
Super player to break into that side. Good luck to any young player going through. But, I mean, we've seen with Richmond, if someone plays well, like a Marlon Pickett, they will back them in. They back in their team ethos and the fact that somebody, even though they're young, they'll come in and they'll play the right way.
A lot of water to go under the bridge between now and September, but is it Richmond's grand final to lose already, because they seem to have come back in such good shape?
It is, and we're hearing Tom Lynch is in ripping Nick again, and Jack Riewoldt, obviously he'll start the season well, but I think clubs are going to start to look at Richmond and go, okay, how do we beat them? How do we dismantle them? They did it with Hawthorn years ago. Clubs started to pick apart when Geelong was so dominant. So all the opposition coaches are sitting there right now going, okay, so how do we beat Richmond? How do we pick them apart? They're not a great clearance side, Richmond, so you can get the clearance numbers up and get the ball in your end. But what they do is enormous pressure. They're the best team-orientated team, for a better word, in the competition. So, I mean, their 18 players are better than everybody else's 18 players. Not in star factor, but just that they do the right thing at the right time. Now, clubs are going to look at Richmond, who put enormous pressure on and just force turnovers. Players get jittery when they're getting tackled all the time. No better example in the grand final last year. It was amazing. But if you can start to flick the ball around and use it quickly. Earlier in the year, when Rance went down and they were just starting to find their feet, clubs were beating Richmond on the outside by quick use. And you can get quick use, and if you get it into that forward, if you're forward end and put pressure on Richmond's defenders without Rance down there, they can be a bit vulnerable one-on-one. They like the 6-on-6 team defence, but if they can't get that, they are vulnerable.
They still have to put in the work between now and finals time. What's the motivation? Of course, it was the breakthrough flag in 2017, then it was almost the redemption flag last year when they missed out to Collingwood from 2018. So what's driving them now?
It's just to have a dynasty, I think, to be one of the greats. You look at what Hawthorn have achieved, you look at what Geelong achieved years back, the Brisbane Lions. I mean, you see these guys in the football landscape and they're the pinnacle. And I think with the lead of Trent Cotchin, who has just got his head switched on so well, and I think that he's been a great example of the way Dustin Martin has now played. Dustin Martin's followed Trent Cotchin's lead. So they've got two players, one who's the captain and one who's an absolute superstar leading that football club, and I think they're in good hands.
You've already touched on the pressure and what that means for their overall game style. It certainly makes it easier for their defence because there's a lot of pressure on the ball carrier going into Richmond's defensive 50. But what does Alex Rance's absence mean? Have they already proved that they don't need him?
Well, they proved that last year. I mean, when he first went down, they lost games early on in the season. And the strength of Richmond and the strength of Damien Hardwick is their team ethos. He went away and he figured out, okay, how do we get this right? How do we figure out how to play with Alex Rance? And they did. They just figured it out. I mean, Tom Lynch early on in the season, it was a new player. How do we fit him in with Jack Riewoldt? They just figured it out. They just do the right thing at the right time. And that comes from great coaching by Damien Hardwick and the rest of the coaching list. But the one area I still think they are vulnerable is if you get the ball in quickly into their defensive 50.
We touched on their depth and perhaps a few of those guys going out, and you're suggesting that's maybe not going to hurt them that much, but they do have young talent underneath. Guys like Jack Ross, who missed out on a grand final, and even Marlon Pickett, who's only played one game.
Well, I only played one game, Marlon Pickett, and I wouldn't be surprised if he plays some reserves football this year. He had a great grand final, came in, was great. But there's going to be times as in every young player, they're going to be up and down. They've got a young kid called Dawkins, who they think is a great inside midfielder, been playing with Trent Cotchin a lot in the pre-season. So anyone that gets into that side is well worth their weight.
In terms of Marlon Pickett, just reflecting on that grand final again, it was a phenomenal game from him, wasn't it?
It is. It's an amazing story. Is there a better story in the last decade about a young player who's been in prison, comes out, and all of a sudden, we're going to give you an opportunity? 9 coaches out of 10 might have said, I can't put him in. Damien Hardwick said, yep, we're playing him.
Well, let's get to your predictions now for season 2020. Is there pressure on anyone at Richmond, do you think?
I think the pressure is on David Asprey. I think Asprey's a wonderful footballer, but he needs support around him. Early season last year, Rance went down. They were all at sea. Grimes, I think, is their best one-on-one defender, can play tall and small. But I just think David Asprey, one-on-one, can be got.
Who's going to improve?
Improver, I like Shea Bolton. I think his end of last year was terrific. He can take a big mark, he kicks goals. I think he's electric, he puts pressure on, so I like him. And I like Marbia Chol as well. I think he's going to be a good backup ruckman to Toby Nankervis. I saw him last year do something you don't see a lot of players do. He had the presence of mind to grab the footy, and he just sold some candy. I can't remember who he sold it around, but just ran around them and then went on, handballed the ball off. And I think it's just some good footy now.
Well, put your neck on the line, Brownie. Have you got them winning the flag again?
I have, and I've got them finishing top 2. I think Richmond, they're my tip for the flag again.
Well, Brownie, thanks for your time. For more of those Footy on 9 season previews, wideworldofsports.com.au and 9 Now.